All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We're here with UltimateE, Battle of the Stars, powered by Red Bull. And as you can see, the guys are already out qualifying for this weekend's race. So, a quick run through what we're going to be doing is this series is basically over 2 weekends. It's a 2 round with 2 races each. So, totaling 4 races. Sorry, each round has 2 races, so total of 4 races. The drivers collect points over the 2 weekends, and then we will have a champion. And basically, there's going to be two tiers of drivers split into Tier 1 and Tier 2. This was done with a preseason qualifying to see who the top 10 were, and then they were split into two tiers, so basically by lap time. And all of this will also count towards something very unique from UltimateE, is that there's a UltimateE unique driver ranking system. So the concept of this is the more that these drivers race, something like the ATP, where the drivers collect points through the year by competing in more races in different platforms. This can be through PC and the PS, and they collect points through all the different championships. And at the end of the year, the driver with the most amount of points accumulated through different championships, he will be ranked as the #1 UltimateE driver through this ranking system. But yeah, I have Dylan alongside me in the commentators room today. So yeah,
Thank you,
let's go.
Karthik. Obviously, yeah, we've already started qualifying. We have just over 2 minutes left, and drivers can put in a total of 4 laps. And obviously, we have 2 races, as you mentioned, of 25 minutes. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what strategy these guys go on, especially when it comes to tire wear.
Yep, and as you can see, it's going to be GT3 cars this weekend, and the setups are open, but iRacing has a BOP, balance of performance, on all of these cars, and at the Nurburgring GP Strecker layout. So it's a very, very famous GT3 venue, a personal favorite on iRacing. So yeah, as we can see, we are looking at the #9 car, the Mercedes. This should be, I'm not too sure actually, I can't see the driver number at the moment, but and we have someone who's had a bit of an off. But yeah, 4 laps to put their quali lap in, so there is a little bit of time for the drivers to do a good lap. But I'm very interested to see who's going to be on pole. Mohammed Ibrahim has been very strong, and Amit Kuti has always been up there in most of the online races I've seen him. And Sai Sanjay, it's pretty familiar names, to be honest, at the top at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously Amit's being extremely consistent throughout all races. I've seen him race on F1 2019, 2020, especially R-Factor and iRacing, and he's always consistently on top, especially when he's faced with contact. And obviously right now we can see the two almost split by a second in qualifying right now between Mohammed Ibrahim and Amit Kuti. And especially looking at the practice times, Ibrahim has actually done a faster time in practice, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. Actually, in qualifying, he's gone a little bit faster according to my screens. But at this point of time, Mohammed Ibrahim leads Amit Kuti, who in turn leads Sai Sanjay. So that's the top 3 at the moment. Interestingly enough, it's an Audi leading the charge, followed by a Ferrari, followed by a Ferrari again. So so it's an interesting mix of manufacturers at the top as well. But yeah, this track is a good mix where power and the chassis balance is very, very important. So it's quite equal in terms of there's no particular car which is going to be eking out any performance advantage here.
I think it does actually come down to personal preference on what these drivers feel more comfortable with on this track. Because obviously, as you mentioned, there's no way to pinpoint which car is going to be quicker in this circuit. So yeah, I think it's just going to come down to personal preference on this one.
Correct. Yeah, and over the span of the race, I think there are going to be different elements which is going to cancel out each other. And let's not forget that the rules for the race itself is going to be 25 minutes, and the drivers are supposed to have a pit stop. It's mandatory to have a pit stop, but there are no regulations in terms of if you have to refuel or if you have to take on new tires. So it's completely down to the tire to the drivers on what they're going to do, because you can even come to the pits just to stop and go, or you can even have a different strategy where you have fuel or new tires. So it's going to be very interesting to see what strategy the people are going to be following out here today, because it's quite open. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what the drivers are going to be planning, but it's going to be very interesting to see.
And as you mentioned that, I actually think if I were racing, and if the tires were able to go all the way to the end, I would just put in enough fuel to go all the way to the end as well, and probably do that. I think maybe some of the front drivers will probably go for fresher tires, and the back markers will probably try to stick onto one tire and try to make as many positions as possible. And we see a little bit of oversteer from Sai Prithvi over there. But he looks to be all right now. He's going on with his lap. He still hasn't put in a lap yet. And obviously, we have only another 54 seconds remaining before we have to close the qualifying and go into the race.
Yep. Right now, Sai Prithvi. I mean, it looks like a pretty decent lap, but he has to put a lap in. I think he's had a little bit of infringements. We all know iRacing can be very, very difficult in terms of track limit violations, especially during qualifying. So he just has to put a clean lap where he doesn't exceed track limits, or puts himself in a position where the lap doesn't count. But if he's able to do that, I think pace-wise he should be right up there, because Sai Prithvi is one of those drivers in Tire 1. So if I may just quickly call out the drivers in Tire 1, it's going to be Mohamed Ibrahim, Hamid Kuti, Shai Sanjay, Sai Prithvi, Yashish, Ronnie, Ritesh, Rohan Shankar, Tejasvi, Sohil, and Advait, who are going to be Tire 1 drivers. Not too unfamiliar from the previous UltimateE races. And Tire 2 is going to be a couple of drivers: Varun Shah, Ankit Roy, Chetan Korada, Lee Keshav, and Avinash Gupta. So yeah, I mean, we do have some real racing drivers in the mix as well. So there we go. That's qualifying done.
And
I
yeah,
am wrong.
we're
Yeah.
exactly, we're gonna start the grid up right now, and obviously it is a rolling start, and that will pretty much these guys will pretty much line up right before the start finish line, a couple turns before the start finish line, rather, and then they all get going at once.
Yeah, so we do have Mohamed Ibrahim, who takes his form from practice into qualifying a 152.5. I mean, that's well ahead of the driver Amit Kuti in P2 and Sai Sanjay in P3. Quite a bit of a gap, but like I said, I mean, these guys could be on different strategies and obviously different cars. So there is a little bit of an element where I'm not really worried about the time differential. But what's going to be really interesting is to see what strategy these guys are bringing into the race. Rohan Shankar in P4, Sohil Shah in P5. I'm sure Sohil is definitely one who brings the fire to races. So I'm expecting some, interesting racing from this guy, having raced with him in real life with him. Um, Lee Keshav doing extremely well there, to put himself in P6 or P7 there. Yeah, so we should be going racing in about
Another 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Sohil Shah being very quick, I've had the opportunity to commentate with you and Sohil racing in Assetto Corsa Competizione, and obviously, Kartik, you've raced with these guys before. What do you think What do you think these guys are going to do in terms of strategy?
I think, knowing Soil, I think he'll be on a pretty aggressive one. But I don't know. For a 25-minute race, if I were them, I would just go with enough fuel to finish the whole race, and probably not really stop for tires or anything like that, because I don't really see point, but I could be wrong. I mean, I'm sure these guys have put practice laps and figured out what works and what sort of tire degradation happens around this track. So I'm sure the people could be. I mean, it could also be strategies where, based on the safety car, but the safety car is pulling into the pit lane right now, so that means we are going to be racing.
Yep,
Very, very soon.
we're gonna see the drivers start lining up onto the grid, start finish line. Yep, we can see the drivers right now. Mohammed leading the group. You can see Mohammed up in first place right now, and it looks like Sai Sanjay is on Amit, unless Amit is actually. I think there's a lot of battles going on between first and second, and it does look like Amit is in second place right now. Sai Sanjay following right behind. Sai Sanjay actually did put in a very decent lap as we're going into turn 3 right now. We can still see Mohammed Ibrahim up in first place, obviously being very, very quick, and I'm sure he's going to be tire managing as much as possible. Going a little bit wide on that turn.
I mean, the tires are not up to temperature over there, and there you can see Mohammed just going a little bit wide, but he was, able to maintain that. But I'm sure he's going to try to settle into a rhythm. But brilliant start by Sai Sanjay there. I mean, he slotted himself into P2 there, and Amit Kuri just getting caught out, I guess. And he seems to be having a good enough pace to actually close down Mohammed Ibrahim in the first part of the race. I mean, this just goes to show, I mean, you just don't know what exact strategy these guys are on. So it could also be that Mohammed is carrying just a little bit more fuel than the Ferrari behind him. But we shall see. I mean, we are going to be finding out at some point of time. But at this point of time, no major incidents, so that's the great start to a race. But it is Mohammed Ibrahim continuing his brilliant form from practice and qualifying, and rightfully leading this part of the race. But you just never know. I mean, it's a 25-minute race.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we obviously, I think, if I'm not wrong, Karthik, the pit window opens at 10 minutes. And obviously, it's going to be interesting to see what these guys do. Are they going to wait all the way to the end of the pit window, or are they just going to go straight in and just stop at the pit and then get straight out and continue the race, or anyone's going to stop and refuel? It's very interesting. Obviously, Ibrahim still leading the pack. It's going to take some time to know if these guys are going to be on a tire stop strategy.
Yep, and a little bit of a correction from something that I said before. There is actually going to be a mandatory fuel stop. So the drivers need to pit, and there is a mandatory need to refuel. So apologies for that. So that is interesting indeed. So I'm sure these guys are running light on fuel right now. It could be either way, actually.
I was just about to say that if I was in the position starting maybe P5 and below, I probably would have put in more fuel, so I wouldn't have to put in as much fuel at the stop.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, obviously we can only wait till the pit stop. Right now, obviously, you can see Ibrahim and Sai Sanjay are just in a class of their own right now. Within 2 laps, they've already pretty much separated from the rest of the group.
I think it's actually Amit Kuti in P2 again. Apologies for that, because it is a Ferrari in P2, right? Last time I checked, it was Sai Sanjay driving an Audi. Could be wrong. Let me just double check on that. But we do have Mohammed Ibrahim, who's just really putting the laps down, and he's opening up quite a bit of an advantage to Amit Kuti right there. But yeah, with the fuel, it can be either ways. There we have a connection, and I think that's between
Sai Sanjay and Sohail Shah.
Oh dear. Okay.
And I do have to say that looks a little bit like Sohail Shah's fault over there, but we will have to wait until a better view of that. But Sohail Shah did go into the back of Sai Sanjay, and that has costed him probably some damage and a bunch of positions, putting him all the way down.
Did look like Sai Sanjay just had a little bit of a mistake coming on to that part of the corner, and he just had to back off, and Sohail tried to make a move that had a gap which was disappearing. But we do need to take a look on that before coming into any conclusions. But that was very, very unfortunate, and I'm sure that's going to compromise Sai Sanjay's race. But maybe he has an alternate plan B strategy for such an eventuality. But let's see. I mean, Sohail is at this point of time P3. Um,
We do have to keep in mind as well the margin between Amit and Sohail is 6 seconds. Do you think Sohail will be able to make up that gap?
it is a little difficult. 6 seconds. He just has to really hope that Amit makes a mistake, which is not too uncommon. I mean, it can happen in any sort of race. And Amit seems to be just taking it a little bit easy. He doesn't seem to be really looking at going after Moment, because Moment, it does seem to be slightly edging out Amit Puri in terms of pace, and just maintaining that gap. But it could be even a strategy from Mohamed Kuti to just fuel save and to save his tires and to keep the gap to a distance that he wants, and then maybe attack at the later part of the race. But Sohail has a really he has a bit of a job to actually close down to the front two, but it's going to be very difficult. And I think Rohan Shankar is not too far away from Sohail Shah, so he has someone to actually defend as well. And Advait Deodhar is also a couple of seconds behind, followed by Ronnie. So there's a bit of a battle going between those two. So it's going to be very interesting to watch, as we are, there's only 18 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, 18 minutes, and we've seen a little bit of contact late into the race. Luckily, everyone got away from in the start of the race, and unfortunately, we did see some contact between Sai Sanjay and Sohail Shah, and that has given Sohail Shah an advantage. But it does look like Rohan Shankar has gotten past and put himself up into P3.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I mean, what did I say? I mean, Sohail was in a spot where he could, face an attack from Rohan, and Rohan has been very, very strong. The last time, I was sim racing before I took a little bit of a sabbatical. Rohan was always very, very quick in that, especially in the GT3 format. He's been very, very strong. But for anyone who's tuning in right now, this is the UltimateE Battle of the Stars, powered by Red Bull, and we see, the drivers right now battling for glory at the Nurburgring Strecker, albeit in a sim racing format. So this is going to be a GT3 race, 25 minutes long with a mandatory pit stop, and we are seeing Mohamed Ibrahim in the lead pretty comfortably, followed by Amit Kuti and Rohan Shankar. But there's a bit of a battle definitely brewing between P3, P4 and P5. Advait Deodhar also facing a little bit of challenge from Ronnie, because it's only 3 tenths between these two. And I'm sure the battle's going to be quite interesting there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would hope for some battles coming into a 25% race, obviously. Would it be fair to say it's a little bit of an endurance race? Would have to manage some tires there. And obviously, we can see a little bit of battles going on here and there. And for all the people tuning in, we have had some contact between Sohail Shah and Sai Sanjay. And obviously, you can see Sai Sanjay has dropped down the order with that contact. Hopefully, he doesn't have too much damage. But yeah, we can see Mohamed Ibrahim in a class of his own right now, putting 2.5 seconds on Amit Kuti, followed by Rohan Shankar, who's 14 seconds behind Ibrahim right now to the leader. And it's going to be quite hard for the top three and below to really catch up to these two.
Yeah, and a quick insight into the Tier 2 drivers. I'm not too sure here, but I think there's Yashish over there, Ankit Roy, right in the mix, actually. I mean, Yashish seems to be ahead of Sai Sanjay, who obviously is struggling with the car after definitely picking up some damage from that contact with Sohail. And I can see Avinash Gupta right there ahead of Krishanu Gupta Buyan, who this guy was really strong in ACC, Astra Corsa Competizione. But I'm sure he's just finding his feet in iRacing a little bit. But I expect him to be very impressive in the coming rounds. Chetan Kurada right down in the mix with Vijay Raj as well. Um,
Karthik, I think we have lost you a little bit over there. But yeah, as you were talking about, just to little divert a little bit, we can see Ronnie right now. There's quite a few drivers behind right now fighting for that position. Sai Sanjay and Yashish trying to get that position in, and we can see a bunch of drivers in front as well. Um, and yeah, this is looking a little bit like a battle that's going to brew.
Absolutely, and I can see some damage on Ronnie's wing as well, so I'm sure he's a little bit compromised. I'm not too sure what happened there, but there we
Oh,
have
we
a
see a
move
little
into
bit.
turn one. Very neatly done by, I think, Sai Sanjay on Yashish.
Yashish.
I do expect Sai to get his pace back up and try to salvage some points out of this race. Um, I might be wrong. I think Yashish probably got that position back because I see a BMW GT3 there. That damage on Ronnie's car really looks a little bad. I'm sure he's losing a lot of performance there.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. He does have quite a bit of damage on that rear wing right there. And where do you think he's gonna pit to fix that? I think he's looking a little bit comfortable on in the position he is in right now, which is sixth place. But I think he's gonna have to be careful with the drivers behind trying to catch up to him.
Exactly. With 14 minutes left, I don't think it would be wise for Ronnie to actually just pit for a damage repair. I think he just has to extend his stint as long as possible with the damage and pit when he has to take his mandatory pit stop for fuel. It's damage limitation for Ronnie, unfortunately. It did look like quite a battle for P3 between Sohail, Advait, Ronnie, but I think Advait is now comfortably ahead. But it seems like Advait is definitely catching Sohail up there. It's a battle of two Ferraris over there, and Sohail also would definitely have some amount of damage from that incident with Sai Sanjay, and that would definitely compromise him as well. But we are, with 13 minutes left on the clock, it's getting quite interesting on when the drivers are going to be pitting. But this is something that I can kind of expect because everyone's trying to just go as long as they can with the fuel level that they have, and probably pit for the minimum amount of fuel that they need to, and get out and like just put qualifying laps for the last remainder of the race.
Yeah, and obviously we can see Advait right now trying to fight Ronnie. Ronnie is actually doing pretty well with the damage on his car. I do have to mention that, keeping that 3 second gap to Advait. And obviously Advait Deoda is not a slow driver by any means. Obviously, comfortably in P5 right now, he could be fighting for the position with Sohail Shah. Obviously, as you mentioned, Sohail could be on a fuel management strategy right now.
It could be that. Obviously, the Audi has a little bit of a bigger engine than the Ferrari, so probably has to, because his fuel consumption rate would be a little bit different than the Ferrari behind him. But like I said, I mean, we do have to remember that Sohail did pick up the damage with that incident with Sai, and it does seem to be compromising his race a little bit. But if he can just hold Advait behind a little bit, maybe with the pit stop he can rectify his problems, so he could still fight for P4. Rohan seems to be just comfortably holding his position in P3. Amit Putty is definitely losing some pace with Mohamed Ibrahim, so the gap's somewhere around the 3-second mark, 3.6, and then we have Sohail diving into the pits, so it's one of the first of the top pack who's diving into the pits, so I'm pretty sure that the pit's going to be a little active from this point of on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sohail's one of the first to we've seen jump into the pits. We do see a few more drivers actually jumping into the pits as well, and it's going to be very interesting to see what these guys have done. Sohail obviously looking a little bit slow on the pace, but if he was fuel managing, this could work to his benefit.
It could. I'm pretty much sure that Sohail's just going to get out with absolutely the minimum amount which is legally needed for the pit stop, and get out and try to catch the pack. And then I can see another car in the pit as well.
We
Not
didn't
too
get a good
sure.
view.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get a very good view on who was in the pit, but we did see someone else in the pit. And yeah, obviously, you don't need to switch the tires, so everyone is probably going to keep the same tires and just add the minimum amount of fuel needed.
Indeed. I'm pretty interested to see when Ronnie would actually come for the pit stop as well, because it could definitely help him with rectifying his wing issues. Um, yeah, he's probably going to be needing a bit of Red Bull because he desperately needs to get them wings. But let's see. I mean, it's still Mohamed Ibrahim out in the lead, followed by Amit Kuti, and Rohan Shankar is holding his position in P3. And I can guarantee that Mohamed Ibrahim is in the pit because Amit Kuti is taking the lead. There's a change for the lead, but Amit has probably trying to do the overcut, maybe trying to get a lap out in clear air and try to get a overcut on Mohamed Ibrahim. But it's going to be a little difficult because
Yeah, that
Mohamed
was
did
obviously.
have
Yeah,
a bit of a
that was
breather.
not a small gap at all,
Yeah,
Karthik. And
yeah,
3 seconds to make that up in one lap would probably be a very
not
tough thing to
possible.
do. Yeah, unless Ibrahim makes a mistake and Amit is running high fuel mode right now, and trying to set the fastest time possible coming into the pits. Obviously, we need to watch these guys need to watch the tires as well. They can't just act like the tires have maximum grip, through the whole race. So obviously, we need to see if Amit has made a good strategy choice.
Yes, I do expect Mohamed to reclaim the lead unless and until there has been a very late pit stop, which just does. It's not possible with sim racing, is it? But I hope he's on a good strategy over there. But right now, Ahmed Kuti in the lead, followed by Mohamed Ibrahim, and again, Rohan Shankar is doing his job, holding station at P3. We are riding on board with Rohan there. Um, and Advait is in P4. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. I don't see Soul Shah anywhere there. Soul seems to have dropped quite a lot of positions, and there we see car number 10, which should be.
Amit.
Is that Amit? Yep, it is Amit in the pit there. So we have the race leader pitting over there with 7 minutes on the clock, 8 minutes on the clock almost. So yeah, this is going to really spice things up. I'm really interested to see what Rohan Shankar could do, because he could be the element which could actually just mix up the whole race. If he could actually stay out or manage his tires to actually hold on, because keep in mind, when Amit pits and comes out, he might have a little bit of traffic to actually fight off.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Amit needs to make sure he's on a good strategy, otherwise this won't work out for him, and he could lose more positions than he did gain.
Yes, and I think there we see Mohammed just crossing the pit straight, going through turn 2 right now, which should be bringing him out in the lead. I'm not so sure. Let's wait. But there we see the Audi from Mohamed Ibrahim. He's just so consistent, isn't he? He's just been so quick, so consistent. Uh, Probably one of the leading sim racing drivers from UltimateE. Definitely one of the standout drivers in all categories of sim racing. I mean, he is a real life go kart driver, so he is experienced in real life as well. So he's just bringing all of that into sim racing and doing exceptionally well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And right now we are specking Oshan right now, having a great battle with Sai Prithvi, fighting for the lead as much as possible. We can obviously see Yashish having that damage might have cost him a little bit of time. He is down in P12. Ritesh right now also in 13th. Chetan has made a position on Vishwas. But right now we are seeing a battle for second. It is a huge battle, must I say. Amit right now in second place, 5 seconds behind Ibrahim. Has lost 2 seconds just staying out for that extra lap. and
Oh.
that has cost him a little bit.
Yep. So Sai Sanjay, meanwhile, has really made some ground with all of the pit stops going on. I'm not too sure if he's actually pitted, but I would think that he must have, because there's literally 5 minutes on the clock, and he has to take that pit stop. Um,
And actually, as you say that, Rohan Shankar has actually made a stop as well. The only person to have not made a stop is Lee Keshav.
all right. Okay. So I'm probably just gonna leave it as late as possible over there. Um, all right, it's definitely turning out into an interesting race. That's the whole point of having the pit stop for the GT3 sprint, because it just really, it's a curveball for all of the drivers with strategy and then what they do. And there you see a bit of a lunge from Sai Sanjay on the Ferrari, but
Yeah, and
that was very ambitious. But I'm sure he just wanted to get that move done as soon as possible and get ahead.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And Sai Sanjay fighting really hard with Advait right now. And we can see Sohil Shah, actually Ronnie has gotten ahead of Sohil Shah over there. Looking at a replay right now, Sohil Shah right behind. Has he made a mistake? No, he hasn't. It looks like he's just stayed behind. And he has actually made a mistake. Sohil, that has costed him 5th place, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, that puts him all the way down into 7th. Unfortunate for him. And Sai Sanjay also looks like he's made a mistake as well. And yeah, Sai Sanjay has
Sai's
made a
had an
mistake.
off. Wow,
And
this
that
is
puts
just
Sohil back up.
that's just been unfortunate. I mean, Sai's just been pushing so hard, trying to make up for the early part of the race where he had that unfortunate coming together with Soul, but that was just pushing a little too hard, and he's really shot himself in the foot, hasn't he? But he doesn't seem to be too far off Sohail Shah over there, so definitely still points up for grabs. Mohamed Ibrahim is back in the lead, followed by Amit Kuti and Rohan Shankar. That is something that I'm not really surprised about, given the pace that the front three guys have had. Advait has really made the best of this race, because I think he's just steadily moved up there with making the best of all of the misfortune happening ahead of him.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. I think Advait has just played his cards pretty well. He's not gotten into too much contact with drivers. He's kept it extremely clean, and it has worked out for him. He's up into 4th place. But as you mentioned about the top 3 runners, I do want to mention Rohan Shankar is 25 seconds to Amit Kuti, and that is a substantially big gap.
That really shows the kind of pace that Mohamed Ibrahim and Amit Kuti are really bringing to the table every weekend, because these guys are just going absolutely on a different planet in terms of pace that these guys are having. Because Rohan Shankar is no slouch behind the wheel of his simulator rig, but Amit Kuti and Mohamed Ibrahim are kind of in the alien league, if I may say. I am sure that I could have expected a much stronger showing from Sai Sanjay, but yeah, unfortunate for him to have had that incident with Solskjaer. But that is racing, whether it's real or simulator. You just have to make the best of it, and it's not just this race. It's going to be 3 more races, so it's all about bringing home points. And in that respect, Sai Sanjay has done a good job. He could actually bring a little bit more if he can get past Sohail Shah, and that battle is going to be very interesting. And here we are riding on board with Sai, going up through the gears, coming into a very fast section where you just gotta have a lift, take the car in there, ride the curbs as aggressive as possible. You're setting up for the next left, and keeping it very clean over there, trying to not use the curb so much on the inside. And there, over here, it's very, very important to get a good run out, because it's quite a long straight down before there's another chicane. An opportunity to actually close down on the guy ahead of you, because you do get a bit of a draft over here. Very important to get the braking as late as possible, but very accurate over here. You don't want to overshoot. And coming on to the last corner, you want to have a good entry, wait on throttle, pick it up nice and gentle, so that you have a good exit. But Sohail is just, it's so evenly matched between Sai Sanjay and Sohail here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And looking at the times, you can see Sohail's actually done a slower time that lap than Sai Sanjay, so it has given Sai Sanjay the opportunity to catch up. And obviously, just 1 minute left to go. This could be the last lap, if I'm not wrong, and Soul will have to really fight. We can see Sai Sanjay right right on his gearbox right now. Sai Sanjay trying super hard to catch up to Sohil, and Sohil's doing everything he can to defend. And this might play into Sai Prithvi's hand if these guys get into contact. Sai Prithvi could make up 2 positions over there, putting himself up into 6th place.
Yeah, Sowell is just driving the widest Audi R8 LMS at the Nurburgring right there. He's just trying to cover off Sai Sanjay. He doesn't really need to really push hard. He just has to cover where he has to and keep Sai Sanjay at bay to bring home that 6th place finish. I am going to take this opportunity to actually say that, okay, we do have a winner here with Mohamed Ibrahim crossing the line, taking that win, followed by Amit Kuti.
6.8 seconds. 6.8 second gap between Ibrahim and Amit. Obviously, congratulations to the two coming into the top 3. Obviously, another race to go. And Rohan Shankar, 29 seconds behind, but comfortably taking that 3rd place.
Yeah, I think Rohan just played his cards beautifully well. I mean, stayed out of trouble, had good pace. Definitely not pace to challenge the front 2 guys, but like I said, it's a championship and you have to bring points home. And I think Sohel has just done enough to keep Sai Sanjay at bay. And Sai Prithvi has also been really chasing these guys. It could have been very interesting if we had a lap more. But I think in the Tier 2 driver list, I think Ankit Roy has done probably enough to come ahead of the other Tier 2 drivers, if I'm right. But there we have the end of the race. Very interesting race. Not so much at the front of the pack, but definitely in the mid pack from P3 on, it was quite a dice. And there we have a collision at the last corner. Not too sure who that was.
That is Cristiano. Unfortunate for Cristiano,
okay.
has come out worst on that, but he has given back the position. And yeah, I would say that's good sportsmanship from Yashi for giving that position back. I do have to give that to him. And he could face a penalty for that. Maybe not. Obviously, at these angles, it's very hard to tell who's at fault here. Oh, we see another driver of Surya Prakash doing some donuts. And yeah, I think he is just celebrating that
P16 finish. So yeah, I mean, everyone's a winner. So I think the important thing is to just have fun. But yes, we do have Mohamed Ibrahim taking the win, followed by Amit Kuti, followed by Rohan Shankar. So brilliant job by these guys. Advait, they're doing a brilliant job again. I mean, just making the best situation that he was given, and he finishes P4. Ronnie, with that wing damage, just maintained his pace to finish P5. Sohel Shah and Sai Sanjay were battling all through the race, and that's P6 and P7. And Sai Prithvi was just inches away from actually capitalizing on the guys ahead. He finishes P8. Oshan Kotaria in P9. Ankit Roy has done enough probably to finish ahead of all of the rest of the Tier 2 drivers. Krishanu, who had that off or incident at the last corner, he still manages to finish P11. And Yashish, I think, did a good job, very good sportsmanship to give that position back. Chetan, Ritesh, Vishwaraj, Surya Prakash, Avinash, and Lee Keshav finish the top 18. Very surprised that Lee actually fell back to P18 because at one point he was in the top 10, if I remember. Not too sure what happened there.
I do actually want to fill that gap up. I think he did retire the car. I
okay.
did see his name kind of transparent on the leaderboard.
But nevertheless, thank you guys. I mean, it was fun with the UltimateE Battle of the Stars powered by Red Bull. So we just are starting out with the championship. That was just the first round at the Nurburgring. We do have following races coming up tomorrow and also next weekend. So please do make sure that you're joining in.
Yep, and that is going to be it. Thank you, Karthik, for inviting me onto the show and into the commentary box as well. Everyone at their own homes, at the comfort at their own homes, I should say. Everyone is having fun racing at UltimateE, partnered with Red Bull.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dylan. It's been a pleasure, and see you guys tomorrow.